mga kaisog! I am Carmela Cadeliña, together with my partner, Glydel Sumalinog. She was former Miss CI, and yes, indeed, she was very pretty.
And also, the person beside me was an amazing actress. She once featured in a movie entitled She's Dating the Gangster, and now an ambassador of Brilliant.
And as the saying goes,
Sometimes the dreams that come true are the ones you never even know you had. So we were tasked to report about the teaching cycle.
So, what do you mean by that?
So the goal in this topic, at the end of the lesson, the students are able to
Demonstrate an understanding and appreciation of the instructional planning cycle.
So let us begin with an opening prayer. So we are the group 3 and our topic is all about the teaching cycle. So we have here an scrambled letter
And the correct words that you will be guessing are related in this lesson.
2,000 years later.
So, if you think your answer is right, let us check. So, number 1 is identifying objectives.
Number 2 is plan instruction.
Number 3 is implement plan.
Number 4 is check for understanding.
And number 5, reflect on teaching.
And number 6, assess learning and reflect on results.
Very good!
So let us now proceed to the main topic.
Good teachers go through a continuously repeating process of assessing student needs, planning instructions, delivery instructions, assessing outcomes, and then determining students' needs again. For experienced teachers, much of this is done internally. In this project, we are asked to do it explicitly.
So, what is teaching cycle?
So there are many models of the teaching cycle. The various educators have developed over the years. However, all models boil down to 6 common stages. The first stage is identify objectives. The second stage is to plan instruction. The third, implement plan, check for understanding, reflect on teaching, and assess learning and reflect on results.
The following describes each stage of the learning cycle. Number 1 is identify objectives. What knowledge and or skills do the students need to learn? You must be guided by the content standards, performance standards, and the learning competencies that are found in the curriculum guide.
Number 2 is plan instructions. What strategies must be implemented for the students to achieve the objectives targeted in the previous stage? In planning instruction, it is important that you have mastered the content of the lesson you are about to teach. It is also beneficial to the familiar with your students, what they know, how to go on. We will learn more about instructional planning in the next chapter.
Number 3. implement plan. This is the stage where you conduct the learning activities that you have prepared during the planning stage. A word of advice: even though you have carefully and delicately planned for a lesson, you must be flexible with the possible changes that you need to accommodate. How will you know whether change is needed? Read on the next stage.
So number 4 is check for understanding. Teaching is about helping students learn. During the implementation of the lesson plan, you must every now and then check whether the students have understood what you have covered so far. Facial reactions and verbal cues help in assessing whether or not student can move on to another concept or skills. That you might need to give a more elaborate explanation, more examples, or whatever you think is needed based on the student's reaction.
Number 5. Reflecting on teaching. You must evaluate every teaching period that you finish. Were the objectives achieved? Were the implemented strategies effective? How can instruction be improved? Your answers to the last 2 questions will give you insight on how to improve instruction the next time you teach the same lesson. However, if you answer the first questions is no, the objectives were not met, then you need to plan again. What do you need to do differently in order to achieve the objectives?
So the last stage is assessing learning and reflect on results. This stage gives you a concrete measure of what the students have learned. In math, this is usually through a paper and pen examination. However, assessment may also be implemented as you will learn in the later chapters of this book. Take note that this stage does not end in assessing learning. You need to reflect in the results. What can you learn about student learning and teaching practices based on the results?
After assessment and reflection, you will once again identify the next learning goals, and so the cycle continues. The following is the narrative of how a teacher might experience the teaching cycle. Number 1, identify objectives. The teacher, Gina, identified multiplication of whole numbers up to 2 digits as the goal of her next lesson.
In plan instruction, teacher Gina thought it is the best to apply a constructivist approach to help her students learn techniques in multiplying whole numbers. She planned a lesson which incorporates the problem-solving strategy.
In implement plan, the class went on smoothly. The activities that teacher Gina prepared were successfully done by her students.
Number 4, check for understanding. To make sure that her students understood the lesson, teacher Gina gave a 3-item exercise as an exit pass.
In stage 5, reflect on teaching. Based on the exit pass, teacher Gina found out that many of the students have difficulty multiplying numbers that involve the digit 8. So, she decided to do a find your error activity the next day for the students to realize their mistakes. She also planned to give a short drill on skip counting by 8.
For the last stage, assessing learning and reflect on result, teacher Gina later on gave a multiple quiz. 90% of the students passed. She planned to give a remedial exercise to those who failed. This teaching cycle taught teacher Gina that students can discover concepts on their own. However, they must still be guided by a teacher because misconceptions may arise.
And overall, teaching involves a repetitive cycle of defining objectives, planning and implementing instruction, assessing learning, and reflecting on teaching and learning. Each part of the cycle provides a better understanding of what it means to teach and learn mathematics and should result in better instruction in the next repetition of the cycle.
And that's how the teaching cycle goes. So, our report has ended. I am Carmela Cadeliña.
And I'm Glydel Sumalinog.
And as the saying goes, sometimes the dreams that come true are the ones you never even knew you had.